part 2 of Artivism and the poetry of social justice. I'm super excited today because I get to collaborate with Brandy. So the 3-day workshop session is really so that we can, oh, and I know James is going to let admit people now because I probably won't see as people are trying to come in, if that's okay. But I'm excited. Yesterday was really kind of getting everyone into this. We'll do a little review of that. We'll be able to workshop some poems today, but then we'll really get into this cool other part of the event, which is using visual art. So let me also make sure James, can you, did you start recording? Do you mind recording?
It's recording.
It is? Oh, okay. I can't tell anything once I have my presentation mode. Okay, cool. So thanks. All right. So I'm going to do a land acknowledgement for that we do in California. So take a deep breath. This land that we inhabit is physically situated in the original ancestral homelands of the Tongva and Chumash people. We pay respect to the Tongva, Chumash, and all indigenous people, past, present, and future, and their continuing presence in the homeland and throughout their historical diaspora. There is an app and then a link called Native Land that you can actually find what your land is and where you're at. And I think James also has the land acknowledgement for University of Colorado. So if you want to add that to the chat, you're more than welcome to. I also want to share all of the, oh yes, thank you, James. James has shared the community guidelines. So I'm gonna go over those real quick. And these are going to be applicable not just during the session where we're talking, but also especially be mindful of that while we're workshopping folks' poems. I will lean into conversations. I will believe everyone is doing their best most of the time. I will critique ideas, not people. I will use I statements. I will accept a lack of closure. I will not make assumptions about other people's identities. I will take care of myself and take breaks if I need to. I will agree that what is shared here stays here, and what is learned here leaves here. Awesome. So here's our agenda real quick. We are going to have a mood check. We'll do an Artivism review, just like a little bit of, a review of what we went over yesterday, so that anyone who's brand new today is totally going to feel right on the same page with us. We'll do some poetry workshopping, and then we'll have the visual art lesson and activity by Brandy Junius. So the poetry workshopping, it's going to be perfect because we have just enough people to make sure we get through everything without anything feeling rushed. So quick mood check. Name, if you wish, you can share your pronoun. One word to describe how you're feeling. And then also one word that a great fan of yours would use to describe you. So I'm Dr. V. My pronouns are she, her, hers. One word to describe how I'm feeling would be that I feel excited. And a word that a great fan of mine would use to describe me, I would say, I'm trying to think of who the fans are. Like, do I want to say what my husband would say? Do I want to say what my students would say? So I'll say what my students would say, which is that I'm supportive, really supportive of other people. So that's mine. Who would like to unmute and go next? If you don't feel comfortable unmuting, you can go ahead and write this in the chat.
I can go next.
Yay.
Brandy Junius, she, her, hers. One word to describe how I'm currently feeling is really excited. That's not one word, that's 2 words. I'm excited. So we can do some art together today, and that's making me really excited. So one word a great fan of yours would use to describe you. I think this word just moved me when I was described this way, so I want to use it. It's just loving. I've been described that way, and that's really what I want to offer to you all today too when we get to the art lesson, just my love and support. So yeah.
Hey, I would agree with that sentiment about you. Anyone want to go next? Oops, sorry.
My name is Alexander Rose. He, him, his. I'm I am also excited. I think this is a great opportunity to, meet fellow artists and kind of just share your experience. And I think it's wonderful that we're able to do this across the country. That's awesome. A word that someone was, I guess, ambitious. I have been ambitious and especially my creative pursuits, but I mean, I've always kind of been that way, always trying to go a little bit further, determined to do that. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I love that word, that quality. Fantastic. Next, anyone else? Zipporah, she, her, feels good and is described as quiet. Good. Quiet is great. My daughter always says that when people are like, oh, are you shy? She goes, I'm just quiet. So, which proves, no, I'm not shy. I'm just quiet. And if I was shy, I wouldn't say that. So I love that. Great. Who's next? Anyone else want to go next?
I will go. So my name's Mariana. My pronouns are she and they. And word for my mood today is sore. Uses bodily sore. And words that a fan has expressed to me is confident and consistent.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you. Consistent is a great quality. You don't find often. Who's next? Anybody else feel comfortable sharing, unmute, or
I could go next.
yay.
My name is Andre, last name Harris. She, her, I guess I've been described in many ways, so I guess for myself, if I would pick, I would pick that I'm a very understanding and caring person. So.
Beautiful.
Did I miss one?
No. Oh, no, that was it. That was great qualities you have. Thank you. Anyone else would like to go next? Just name, if you wish, your pronoun, one word about how you're feeling, one word someone would use to describe you. And you can also use the chat box if you would like. Go ahead.
Hi,
Hi.
how are you? Hello.
Good. How are you? Oh, okay. Hey, I see you.
Hey, how are
It's
you?
hard to see everything while my screen is in presentation mode.
I'm trying to get my lights set.
Welcome back. I have your poem in the documents. Go ahead.
Oh, cool. My name is Lyrical or Pro Professor. It's funny, I have a line that says, whenever I throw down, the pronoun these days is pro now. My ascension from these lows well known. That's my hometown. But anyways, yeah, so he, him. Anyways, I'm feeling content. Content. One word a great fan of yours would use to describe you, impassioned.
What was it?
Impassioned.
Impassioned. Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Are we good? We're good? M, did you want to, oh, M did. Okay. M, they, them, feeling calm, and a fan would call them passionate. Very nice. Love it. That's great because yesterday we talked about what our passions are. So I went over the agenda. Sorry, whenever I'm opening like chat box and everything at once, it just gets a little wild. So bear with me. So real quick, our Artivism lesson, it's really what is Artivism? The intersection of art and activism. It addresses social issues, challenges oppression, promotes social change, comes in various forms, can be used as a form of healing. A lot of people think that it's only to be that it's only really about like, you have to be standing for something, you have to be involved in something. It's not necessarily. At times it's just actually, sometimes your existence itself is part of the resistance. Someone who has overcome a lot of challenges, someone who's in a same-sex relationship can be, talking about that could be a form of artivism. Just anything that is sharing a counter story can be considered artivism. So again, this art is from Brandy Junius, Your Voice is Your Freedom. And I think it relates beautifully to the fact that counter stories are rooted in critical race theory. It's a narrative that resists the constricting values and expectations of the dominant story. So we talked about whose stories were dominant yesterday. We talked about how, with the model minority myth, with Asian Pacific Islanders being considered to be just, all great, highly educated, well off financially, and what that results in is a lot of us erasing the fact that many have been poor, many are survivors, many have mental health conditions that are that are ignored and not looked at. So there's a lot of invisibility in that community. Of course, we know the white, male perspective that is extremely prevalent. Heteronormative perspectives, even in stories that are that feature people who might be in same-sex relationships, or that feature, people with disabilities, then it would still be, white dominant in those stories even. So really intersectionality is very much ignored. So that is why, if your artivism isn't necessarily for healing or about promoting, an issue that you have, that you're passionate about, it absolutely can be just sharing your story. This is, since I brought up intersectionality, and a lot of people know that Kimberly Crenshaw coined the term, who I admire and love very much, and have been working on a grant with her, which to decarcerate pregnant Black girls. I've learned so much from her work, and just being, grateful to be in Los Angeles, where I've been able to see her speak and be, share spaces where she's actually able to teach and educate us. But folks have been talking about how their story has been ignored for a very long time. So Sojourner Truth, 1851, Ain't I a Woman? That man over there says that women need to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches, and to have the best place everywhere. Nobody helps me into carriages or over mud puddles or gives me any place. And ain't I a woman? Look at me. So she's really talking about how, there was a man trying to talk about like women, and we need to care about the women here back in the 1800s, and clearly he's talking about white women. So she's pointing this out. So that's just beautiful, and I love turning to poetry and to art to really connect it with CRT, critical race theory, and a lot of like what people might consider academic-y work. So here we're going to go right into the poetry workshop, because I definitely want to leave time for that, and also leave time to do Brandy's piece. So this is what this looks like. The author will read the poem out loud. I'm going to share the Google Doc with you and a link in the chat box so that you can look at it, and you can either take notes right on the Google Doc, insert comments next to it, or you can just take notes on your own, mental notes, write notes down. Your notes are really going to be, respectful, of course, and trying to, help the author, improve their poem. So you're going to mention strengths, some things you loved about it, and some suggestions. So how do I workshop a poem if I'm not used to doing that? I mean, easy. Read the poem. Does it speak to you? Does it have a good line, an opening line? Does it have a good title? So even if you're completely inexperienced with poetry, you absolutely can still give feedback like, hey, I'd like to know more about this. This part was unclear. Can you describe this a little better? I loved and felt really connected to this part. It made me think about, X, Y, and Z. So that's kind of how we do that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here real quick so that I can go to the documents and share that. And I do have, if you just bear with me for 1 second so that I can add another one that I just got in an email. So the way we'll do it is each person we'll read their poem. We'll take a couple minutes of quiet time to write our notes or to take mental notes. Then the next person reads, we do that. And then we all kind of come and share the feedback going poem by poem and see how much we can get through. If we can't get through a ton, like all of it today, I will make sure that there's time tomorrow. Okay, so here is the link. I'm gonna share it in the chat box. Right here. So you have it in the chat box. So let's first go with Alexander. Do you mind going first? His is the first poem in my doc since I just put it in there. So share your poem.
No problem.
Yeah, share your poem. And if you want to, like I said, if you want to take notes on that document or somewhere else, do that. And when we give the feedback, the artist has to stay quiet, which is really hard. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, this is, am I muted?
You're
I'm
good.
not muted. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is what I wrote yesterday and what happened to that link. I'm like on the land acknowledgement PDF. Let's just do this. Okay. Someone in the chat yesterday put shoelaces, so I just gave it that title. I kind of like the way that sounded. But anyways, it's thoughts of depression or more than fleeting bouts of sorrow. Strong yesterday, weak today, worse tomorrow. Eager to encounter blissful vibes offered for me to borrow or to keep, however, more so to borrow. But my sense of borrowing is vain and tainted because things that I've borrowed are things that I've taken. Taken because my will prompts me for shame, backed by pathetic justifications, desperate to defer the blame. That impact affects my day-to-day. I'm conflicted truthfully because I do believe that regret isn't true, but a belief constructed by innocent ignorance, and by conquering that notion, there is opportunity for growth, opportunity for progression and wisdom decorating the road. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. So if regret ties the shoes on my feet, I'm walking heavy and creating cracks in my street. Some so big I trip and fall on my face. And I curse my regret-fraught lace and hang my head with disgrace. But if I tie my shoes with laces of strength, I would be apt to subdue the rise of restraint.
I'm gonna have to, I hate to do this to you. Is there any way you can read it slower?
Was that too fast?
Too fast.
Okay. For the top? Okay.
From the top.
Thoughts of depression are more than fleeting bouts of sorrow. Strong yesterday, weak today, worse tomorrow. Eager to encounter blissful vibes offered for me to borrow or to keep, however, more so to borrow. You take that line out.
Just keep
My sense of borrowing is vain and tainted because things I've borrowed are things I've taken. Taken because my will prompts me for shame, backed by pathetic justifications, desperate to defer the blame. That impact affects my day-to-day. I'm conflicted truthfully because I do believe that regret isn't true, but a belief constructed by innocent ignorance. And by conquering that notion, there is opportunity for growth, opportunity for progression and wisdom decorating the road. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. So if regret ties the shoes on my feet, I'm walking heavy and creating cracks on my street. Some so big, I trip and fall on my face. And I curse my regret-fraught lace and hang my head with disgrace. But if I tie my shoes with laces of strength, I would be apt to subdue the rise of restraint.
Beautiful. Didn't it feel better slowing it down?
A little bit, yeah. I was like able to see what I was writing and like little changes I would already make.
Okay, so I'm going to mute you, and I want everyone to take a couple minutes to go ahead, and you have the poem in the chat box. So go ahead and make either mental notes or put, my notes are in red. You can add notes to the doc in whatever color or initial it. So we're going to do that for a couple minutes before we go to the next poem, and then at the end we're going to give the feedback to each person. So a couple minutes to do that. go with the next poem will be In Bloom. Brandy, do you mind sharing that one?
Sure. Okay, I noticed there's a typo in it, so I'm gonna read it the way that it's supposed to read. You'll notice that it says tired, I mean tried. So we'll get there, but I just wanted to, so I'll be reading a different word than what you see. But it's called In Bloom. In the warmth of the sun and the glow of the moon, I searched the sky for traces of you. The love that I sought, I thought that I knew, existed outside, so that I pursued. I turned over rocks, mossy with dew. Maybe some love could be hidden there too. But there was just rubble it crumbled into, the love I imagined, still hidden from view. I tried to fix broken things, patch them with glue. If I made you whole, you should love me then too. But broken things never reform as if new, so sharp edges cut me as fractured things do. I searched every ocean and mountaintop through, the forests and meadows and things the wind blew. Still I couldn't catch up to love, it just flew. It seemed so elusive, more falsehood than true. Then something small whispered, the answer is you. Stop looking outside for the where and the who. So I watered me, and that quiet seed grew. Never had to find love, I loved me and it bloomed.
Thank you. Is there anything you want to say about the poem?
It's just a poem about self-love and discovering that, like that's where the source is, and that you won't find it outside of yourself if it's not inside of yourself first.
Thank you so much. I think some people might have had trouble accessing the poem, so let me make sure that my share things are good. It's weird. It says anyone with the link. Okay, done. Okay. Thank you. All right, so we'll take a minute to make our comments. Next, let's have Andre. Do you mind sharing yours? Glory God Almighty. Yours?
My phone like overheated, so I can't see anything, but I can pull it up to read it.
Okay.
So I'm on the phone part of Zoom.
Okay. Do you want to read it, or do you want me to come back to you after? We have one more poem, so we can.
I can read it. I can read it.
Go ahead.
Okay, the poem is called Glory, God Almighty. I refuse to allow the devil to give me a gorilla beatdown while the world reacts in a zoo. The world sits on my shoulder and the space in my head depletes. It is God Almighty that refuels my soul. My life seems like an elevator ride, as if it shoots past the stars in space. I have seen heaven. I have seen the guiding light, and every time I return to my true self, I become more humble, more obedient as God's faithful servant. I am renewed. I am forgiven. I am reshaped. I am altered. I am here, pound for pound. I speak. God, I speak. And God hears me. I cry. And God sends me a comforter to comfort me. I rejoice in God's glory. I shine in God's light. I procreate in God's creation. God gives me the strength and the wisdom to move through the world. My belly is full of God's blessings. And in knowing I am alive, I am here. God has never forsaken, even in my worldly lessons. And this is why I praise God. Glory to God. Glory to God.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Please, everyone, take a minute to process and share your thoughts on the document or take notes.
Or
Yeah,
clarify.
anything that would be helpful. Yes, thank you.
Well, I wrote this because I started remembering my time in service and what came after the military. through all the medical issues and the near-death experiences and all the different sacrifices. It's like so many times I was near death and had to come back, and seeing that light, going through that tunnel and seeing stuff that I have never seen before. And when I returned, I just wasn't the same. Each time it was different. So that's where I got the inspiration to write that. And I wrote that on the 16th of March, because sometimes I remember stuff. And if I'm not speaking like I normally do, or it changes up, it's because I had a stroke. And I still made it through all of that. And I'm doing really well with that. But it's just like every time I come back different, not the same.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, not just what the poem, but also personal, experience for yourself. Thank you. We'll come back to it when we go through all the feedback. So thanks so much for sharing. Okay, so our last person who's sharing that I have a poem from is Professor Lyrical. So, hey, House of Lies. Yes, please share your poem.
Can you guys hear me all right, or am I too loud? Or am I loud? I just turned it up. What did that make a difference on your end, or you can? It's too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay was telling me yesterday. He was like, I was cranking. I was like, oh, I didn't know. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't notice yesterday. You're good right now.
That's good?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Where is this? Oh, yeah, there you are. If I can only take you up higher and see my point of view, but it's like you refuse to do any of the work, research yourself first and admit some fault too. And I try to say that it's all you, but in this relationship, the one holding all the cards is you. And true. It was cool before when it was all about the luxury trips and whips, hotels and the company, the casino rooms with the best views, fully equipped with bubbly, letting them see all that drip. But what I wish, we could go back to those days when I didn't even know all the dirt you did, how you canceled your friends and treat them kids. How could you when you got someone who loves you, you barely pay attention to, but yet pay attention to all of your admirers. See, what I require is the loyalty you claim you was all about when this started out. But what I found out is you're communicating late at night with others while I'm asleep via social media, becoming needier and needier, conversations more media, thinking you some sort of a celebrity now, obsessed with your followers, paparazzi who like you in the bright lights and media. Now I understand that you need attention too. What I question is your intentions to spin on the truth. All your claims that I'm hearing you make, then you turn around and lie to my face, telling me everything else that I heard from 100 different sources are all fake? Really? When you're the one out running around with fake spray tans, like, look at my hands and isn't my hair great? But make no mistake, I've even heard it out your mouth and now I got it all recorded on tape. You try to keep it all up on the hush, but listen, I know what's up. Yeah, I know about your past and it all adds up in a way I wish I could let you hold on to my cape just for a day to escape and let you see what it's like when you live in life for others first, trying to do things right and not out of spite. Like, now you bringing the family all up in everybody else's business, talking about you want my commitment just because it's been a few years, plus now I need to make a decision? Listen, you really feel like we at that moment? Like, can I get a witness, hand on the Bible? You just want the pomp and circumstance and probably the pictures to go with it. And listen, it's not that I don't hope for your success and hope that you one day get it. I just think the way that you've acted over the course of our relationship is nothing less than pathetic. And I regret it that I didn't point it out more and understand it before this epidemic. But now I want you out that house, like the House of Representatives, and more like the Senate, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you. Okay, awesome. Anything you want to share about the poem? What inspired you?
Yeah, I did release that in August, and so it was the previous president that I was speaking to. So that was, of course, like a breakup letter, but it was with the president. So yeah, that was kind of the, I guess, surprise ending, if you will. And just looking at it from the perspective of like someone having disdain in a relationship after thinking they were, both on equal understanding or whatever, and then, kind of losing faith or losing that belief that other person had your best interest, kind of thing. So.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. So we'll take a minute right then, then we'll go right into feedback. And open this up. Let's open this up to our first poem that we heard, Shoelaces. by Alexander. So during the feedback part, the artist has to just stay quiet and listen to the feedback. So first, Alexander, thank you for the poem. And I'd love to hear from anyone who had something to share. We're only going to do strengths first. So share some strengths of the poem, things you liked, things you loved, things you connected with. Anyone ready to unmute? I actually saw some stuff in the chat box too, so I'll go in there. I'll make sure I'm looking at that.
Just really like how impactful certain lines were. You know, it's not really feedback. I think it's great. And I like, you know, certain lines like the strong yesterday, weak today, worse tomorrow. It's like when you're in a depressive state or experiencing depression, that is literally the expectation that you have. Like, I remember good days, but like I'm expecting only bad days to follow from this. So like, it's very, for anyone who's like even experienced depressive thoughts, like that's very relatable. The way that you say things are very powerful and relatable. I like that, you know, the things that you've borrowed are things that you've taken, you know, and yeah, I just like the language that you use.
Yes, Lyrical wrote that same line here too. That was the woe line for him. And that backed by pathetic justifications, desperate to defer the blame, and a belief constructed by innocent ignorance. He said that was standing out at their juxtaposition. Do you have anything to add to that, Lyrical, or did anybody else want to share anything, any other strengths of the poem?
I really enjoyed how, so there was the cliche of a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step, but he takes it as, he really breaks it down in the next line after that. And that's actually what I really enjoyed. Because sometimes it's like you read poems where they'll have certain phrases people have said over and over, but I just like how he ended up, you know, really showing that first step and how sometimes, yes, we can fall and we can fall really hard, like how he said on our face. And, you know, but yet he's still going to change his laces and continue that journey. So for me, like that's really breaking down and making that one line really not a cliche anymore because he took it as his own. So yeah,
absolutely. Anybody have any areas? Oh, I'm gonna also share the strengths too with Alexander. So I love the title. I put some things in the notes, so just definitely go to the doc. I don't have to go through like any sort of grammatical random things. I love strong yesterday, weak today, worse tomorrow. Let me see. I just changed effects. Oh, and I said the part where you said, and I curse my regret, fraught lace, and hang my head with disgrace. I love most of that line, except I didn't really know what you meant by fraught lace. You don't have to answer. I still think it's like, feels like it's almost being rhyme ruled there. So I'd remove lace since you already say it in the next line. And so you don't want to kind of have a rhyme rule. So I'd probably say, and I revise that line, keep the hang my head with disgrace. If I tie my shoelaces with if I tie my shoelaces with strength, I would be apt to subdue the rise of restraint. That's my recommendation for the feedback, but I thought it was a really beautiful poem. I can't believe you were able to do that so quickly. It was fantastic. The way you kind of, went line by line and evoked emotion. Does anybody else have feedback for Alexander?
Yeah. In addition to what I was saying, I liked it was like there was an MC cadence in it, like he raps a little bit, or maybe had that in mind. So I'm partial to that, but there's like some wordplay in there too that you would typically see like more like in a rap as opposed to just a straight poem. Specifically where he says, I'm conflicted truthfully because I do believe that regret isn't true but belief. That true but belief, making it sound like the truthfully. And then he follows that up with a belief constructed by innocent ignorance, which is the line that I like in strong juxtaposition, to that other line that I wrote about, on one hand, you're saying innocent ignorance, and up above you were backed by pathetic justifications. That's so opposite to me. backed by pathetic justifications, desperate to defer the blame. And then it's like, yeah, belief constructed by innocent ignorance. It's just like, that back and forth was kind of cool. So, but I can sense the MC in you, so I know that you've written rhymes before.
Yes, yes, he has. He always has. He comes to open mics and stuff. So I don't want to cut too much into the visual art piece or anything that we're doing. So I'm only going to do the workshop for Andre's piece, Glory God Almighty. I put my own notes for Brandy's beautiful poem and Lyrical's beautiful rhyme, and we can actually go over those tomorrow in depth, more depth. But I did have my notes in there, so I do want to honor Andre's poem for now, since I'm going to be able to be in touch with Brandy and Lyrical in general. So definitely write in your feedback on the doc. But Andre, I thought you did a beautiful job with this poem. Really nice analogy where you said, I refuse to allow the devil to give me a gorilla beatdown while the world reacts in a zoo. I would work on a little bit of that beginning paragraph to kind of just like make sure that it doesn't all feel jammed in, like separate, like maybe create a stanza out of that. I love where you said, and this is why I praise God, that whole part, God is never forsaken, even in my worldly lessons. And this is why I praise God, glory to God. I separated the lines out personally. I felt they needed to stand alone. And I really felt the way you ended that poem can really resonate with people. I'm not personally a spiritual person really, but I could actually even connect with like that beauty of like feeling like saved in a way. And finding that like blessing in the end. And I think it would connect to a lot of people. So I hope you do share it and that you'll come to our open mic and share it. Yeah, my only weakness feedback was really about just kind of that first part of it, kind of break that down the way you did the rest of the poem a little bit, because it kind of feels like you're just talking and not actually doing the poem. So, it might just be separations of lines. Anybody want to share some feedback on Andre's poem? Glory God Almighty, strengths.
Yeah, Andre, I enjoyed your poem myself. I agree that in your first stanza, it is very there's a lot of wording, and so sometimes less is better. So like, you could say, I refuse the devil's gorilla beatdown. And so if you're able to eliminate words, but without obscuring the message or without obscuring the imagery that you're trying to show, it'll just go smoother. Your second stanza, I just love the second stanza completely. So yeah, no, just keep working on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, like on that opening that you guys are talking about, like where it's the imagery is kind of cool for that opening. I like that opening. There is something to be said for, if you have imagery that's hectic like that in the zoo and packing it in like that can kind of create that feeling. So, I mean, not everybody's thinking necessarily when they write a poem exactly how it looks, but how it looks later when you go back to it can really remind you how you meant to flow with it or whatever. And like in my head, when I'm saying that, I'm like, I can hear the passion and almost the quick speed of it. And then how everything else would be broken down. Like I'm thinking like, I refuse to allow the devil to give me a gorilla beat down while the world reacts in a zoo. The world sits on my shoulder and the space in my head depletes. It's God Almighty that refuels my soul. My life is like, my life seems like an elevator.
Rapper now.
So it's, but you could feel that almost like you're angry there, and if with what they're saying though, with a little bit more spaced out in a way you want it to resonate, could really make that powerful, because that's what I felt when I looked at it. And especially when you get to, I've seen the God in light, and every time I return to my true self, I become more humble, more obedient as God's faithful servant. I am renewed, I am forgiven, I am reshaped. You just feel that there, if it's broken up like that. So I would take that into consideration, and maybe you have it hectic up top, but you have it in sort of a scheme that reminds you next time you go back to it to read that, to deliver it with that kind of passion in the front, and then boom, step by step with those lines you come with, they're powerful. So it's good stuff.
I love that. Yes, thank you. That's great.
Yeah, well put.
Yeah. And Alexander, I know you can look in the chat box to see feedback from yours, but Zipporah had shared with Andre, and said, I love the part where you, because I know Andre's on their phone. So Zipporah said, I love the part where you say, I need a comforter, and he sends me a comforter. I'm someone who is spiritual, and prayer really helps me when I'm going through a tough time. Yeah, see, I felt that too. I'm like, I'm not even spiritual, but I could connect with this and wish I was able to get those feelings more. But I know for a fact so many people would hear
Yeah, the same for me. Like I felt good. I was like, all right, yeah, me too, me too. So I like that too.
Absolutely. And I love what Em just said, that adding the line breaks like this line would hit intensely for them. My life seems like an elevator ride, as if it shot past the stars in space I have seen. Yeah, I think that, yeah, the breaks, it's amazing how impactful that is. So take this feedback, you'll have the document, or I can copy and paste it back into an email back to you with some of this feedback on there, so that you can, I'm gonna actually copy and paste it onto the document so that you can, I would love for you to come and perform it with this, like these little minor adjustments tomorrow. So thank you all for your poems. Sorry that we can't go through every single one, but we did, I feel like, get, through 2 and do a really good job with that. I do want to get to the visual art piece. Let me also add this other part too that Zipporah shared so that you can have that. And I'm excited for the second segment. And again, we'll do a little bit of workshopping tomorrow before the celebrations if the folks can still come. So let me go back to sharing my screen.
I'm gonna step out real quick.
Okay.
This coffee shop's about to close, so I gotta go sit outside now.
Oh, okay, cool. We'll see you in a second.
Yeah, that's something.
Okay, so we have visual art. Let's just get right to it, Brandy. Oh, wait, whoops. Here's your first slide. I'm gonna be your slide keeper. I'll actually watch you so that you can tell me when to move, or just say, next slide, please.
Okie dokie. So, we're really talking about how we can use visual art as a form of artivism to facilitate healing or finding our voice, telling our own story, which can oftentimes be a counter story or counter narrative to the dominant story that we hear about people in our situation or just in general. And so, as we're thinking about creating any sort of art, but particularly visual art, and like wanting the piece to tell a story, we want to think about a few things. We want to think about whose narrative are we telling? If I'm a Black woman and I'm painting myself in any particular environment, I'm telling a story of Black people being situated in that environment. And so there's, like a lot of conversation around, like, for example, sci-fi movies. You don't see a lot of diversity in sci-fi movies. And it's like, does that mean that they don't see us in the future where these, things are happening? Like, let's place ourselves in these places, right? And so whose narrative are we telling? Oops, can you go back? There you go. Who's being left out or overstated? Who is defining beauty, joy, and worthiness? And I put a pin in that one. I really like talking about that because we get all of this messaging around who's beautiful, what traits are beautiful, what hair texture is beautiful, what body type is beautiful, and like who's creating that, who decides what color eyes are better than another or what texture hair. And so we ask ourselves these questions as we create art so that we're representing more than just the dominant narrative of beauty or worthiness or joy. We also understand that our art is an act of resistance, so we should be refusing to let others define ourselves or leave us out or gaslight our experiences, and we do that through expressing our experiences through the visual arts. So we can go to the next slide. So some of the really cool things about using visual art as a form of artivism is that it has the power to enhance the connection to our identity through representation. And the example here that I give is like, if I'm in art and art is meant to be beautiful, then I must be beautiful. So if you think about the narrative of a person who never sees themselves in art, if I go to an art museum and I look around and I don't see any paintings of anybody who looks like me, what does that tell me about my worth and value versus walking into a museum and I'm represented in some form across the different works of art? Then I feel like I am worthy of being honored. I am worthy of being you know, art. I must be beautiful. And that's a really strong psychological component as we ingest different forms of media and visual art. And we'll talk more about that when we go through the art activity. So this is just kind of the setup, and I'll get into all of these ideas in more detail so you can move forward. So as we think about the healing components of art, we understand that creating art, oops. There we go. We're good. Thank you. Creating art helps us to become more aware of our emotions and process both trauma and joy. So there's a reflective nature, you know, of creating art. And I'll teach you all how to do that, how to really create, you know, emotional art, emotional pieces, reflective pieces, because you could just like color, you know, the sun in the corner of the paper in the house with the triangle at the top or whatever. But what I want to show you all how to do is to really tap into your emotions and how you feel and your beliefs about yourself and create art from that perspective. So, you know, it becomes the conduit to explore those feelings. And so we'll go through that as well. We can move forward. So again, what I like to do, because I am a therapeutic art life coach, and so in certain spaces I'm teaching groups or individuals about how to use artistic expression as a mechanism for healing. And we can do this through different types of abstract lines, composition, and color to emote. So we'll walk through that in the lesson as well, you know, being able to tap into the psychological components of colors, or you know, we were just talking about feeling frantic or chaos in the way that we write poetry. We can use line and composition to create feelings of franticness or chaos or subtle, you know, calmness, those sorts of things through art as well. And so I'll show you how to do those. It also provides an opportunity to organize your thoughts and emotions outside of yourself. Sometimes when we keep everything in our head or we keep everything bottled up, we don't have a really practical way of sorting through how we feel and what part is connected to these other things, and, you know, really decouple things that we feel like we're upset about together, but they're not necessarily related. And so it's a good way of organizing our thoughts. And it also helps you imagine or create a new story. And it's a process of manifestation. And I'll part of the lesson we'll do relates to using I am statements to help manifest things in your life. And so, you know, there's a really powerful component of actually creating the thing that you want, you know, the environment that you see for yourself. So part of my healing journey was, you know, there was a part where I was doing art that was really about my trauma, and then I transitioned, and then the art was really about imagining myself in a better future or a better place. And then, you know, creating that space artistically helped me get there, I think, more effectively. And then, you know, finally, the process of creating alone improves mental clarity and energy flow. So just the thing that your brain has to do to be creative, to select colors, to tap into your emotions, that process alone really helps provide mental clarity and good energy flow and healing. So we can move on to the next one. So just a couple of technical tips before we get into the art piece. You can use color and content to impact mood, perception, and evoke specific emotions. I used all of these pictures. By the way, all the art that I've been showing has been my art. And so on this slide, you see like 3 different paintings of the ocean. And you see like a black and white version, which communicates a very like somber feeling and almost like dreamy feeling that you get with like the black and white ocean, which is very different from like the vibrant blues and the sunset that you see clearly, which is very different from like the pink, calm, soothing ocean, you know, on the other side. And so the content is the same, but there's different emotions that you get based on color and distance. You know, the black and white one, you see further into the distance, and that draws you in a little bit deeper in your emotions. And so, you know, that's just one technique to help as you're trying to communicate your emotions and heal through your art. Be really mindful of colors you use, composition, and those sorts of things. You can move to the next slide. And this one, I added a poem that I wrote for this painting. This was an example of how you can use texture and color and chaos and the juxtaposition between bright colors and black to really create an emotion or really create a mood with something. And so I'll just read the poem really quickly. Is that okay, Noosh? Do we have time for me to read it really quickly? It just says, you think you're free because you're not me. Stand tall inside your privilege, worn like metals on your skin, your shackles deep within. You say you fight with the oppressed, but have you walked their shoes or bled instead when they were beaten, hurt when they were bruised? Sacrificed your innocence, cast blinders to the ground, raise voices who may question why you never made a sound? Will you believe those who suffered from the things you would not see? Will you wear my chains beside me until we all are free? And so that's about allyship and not being performative in your allyship, like actually being empathetic. And so that's, I wanted to write a piece that I thought was equally as powerful as the painting, but I'm really just showing how you can merge these different art forms and artivist forms to really create a powerful statement. So we can move on. I think it's the art lesson time, right? Okay, cool. So can you stop sharing your screen? Yeah, and then we can have this. So I'm going to pull up my guiding prompt for you all. So I hope you're ready. Just to prep for this art activity, you can really just use like a pencil and a piece of paper. Sometimes I do painting. Painting takes a long time because you have to wait for layers and whatnot to dry. The most important thing that we'll focus on for today is just talking you through the mental and emotional process to create the art, and kind of, you know, we would be using the I am statements. And so I really liked that part in Andre's poem where it was like, you know, I am this, I am that. Like, I am statements are so powerful in helping your mind believe things about yourself. So if you're if you're healing and you're working on a part of yourself that, you know, maybe your self-esteem is low, or, you know, you want to get better at something, using I am affirmation statements really helps. And so we'll go through that process here. If you don't finish your art in the session, it's fine. You can finish it, you know, later on afterwards. The most important part is just really understanding how to think through the process as you create the art. And then Noosh, we'll have time maybe tomorrow, right, for folks to share if they want to share.
Yeah, so tomorrow, I mean, I'll get into all the things about tomorrow when Brandy's done about what to expect for tomorrow, but it'll be an open mic and featured artists. So I'm going to, you know, make sure that the folks who've been coming to our workshops and the Colorado University students are the centered, you know, the get priority on like open mic kind of thing to present, and you can present anything. So as we've learned, we've only had a couple sessions, you know, but there's so many different forms of artivism. So whether it's visual, something you've just been working on, you want to share, the poem, photography, whatever, that's going to be our opportunity tomorrow. So just let me know in the chat box or in an email that you'll want to, you know, present, so I can make sure that you get that special time.
Cool. Thanks, Noosh. So just like wanting to let you all know, there'll be opportunities as we go through for everybody to share like as they're thinking. And so I want to encourage folks to share in the chat if that's more comfortable, or unmute yourself and share out loud with the group as we go through certain parts of this. I think it's really helpful to kind of talk through these things. So the first thing that we want to do is we kind of want to find our calm. I want you to close your eyes and imagine a place you've been where you were calm. You felt serene, you felt comfortable. Or you can just keep your eyes open and think about it. But I want you to think about how you feel in that space. And I really want you to tap into that. And I want you to know that you can always return to that place anytime you're feeling upset, frantic, anxious, depressed. You can go back to this space where you are right now, where you're feeling calm, anytime you choose to. And now as you think about your calm place, I want you to assign it a color. I want you to think about what color you imagine when you tap into being calm. And then once you have your color, let me know what color you selected.
I got green.
Nice. Why green? Do you, and you don't have to know, it could just be what your brain thinks.
It's like the landscape, the color, it's like brush, trees, just everything very colorful and vibrant. Green being that color.
Wonderful. Anyone else want to share?
For me, I like sky blue. That it's one of my favorite colors, and whenever I see it, it just makes me feel calm and relaxed. So, and I thought about on Friday nights, my families, we like to spend time with each other. So that's what I thought about.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's super calm. Professor Lyrical, we said silver bordering on purple. I love that.
Mine's is red.
Nice. Okay, I like
Yeah,
that.
because red represents stop. So red, it has always been my color, and it's a calm color for me because it's like stop. You know, don't react, don't, and it's just, I don't know, I look good in red.
I love
I don't
that.
know, it's always been my color.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I want to point out that everyone's color is different, right? Which lets you know that all of our brains and emotions work differently. Mine is yellow. So what I want everyone to do is that's going to be the backdrop of your art color, because we want to situate this, by the way, this is going to be a self-portrait. And you're going to situate yourself in your calm place. So I want you to, you know, if you have colors, crayons, markers, color pencils, or whatever, paint the, you know, or color the background your calm color. If not, that's okay. That's just, you know, maybe you want to go back later and add it. But the point is to situate yourself in your very calm place. So I'm going to color mine yellow really quickly. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because we can go back later on and refine it and make it look really good. I really just want to take you all through this exercise of understanding how to do this self-love activity. So, you know, I just kind of, oh, you can't really see it, but we have yellow. And mine's not going to be cute. Yours doesn't have to be cute right now either. It's just the process of creating and affirming yourself. So there's no stakes here for how good your art looks. Okay, so I want you to, as you're coloring your background, I want you to think about what stories you tell yourself about yourself and where those stories came from and who do they benefit. So if I think about, you can't really tell because my hair is up, but I have curly hair, and I've believed my whole life that my hair should be straight, but that belief doesn't come from me. I didn't wake up one morning and decide I like straight hair better than curly hair. That messaging has come from external sources. It's come from the media. It's come from the beauty industry. And who benefits from me wanting my hair to be straight when it's curly? All the people in the beauty industry who sell me things to make my hair straight, right? Like, and so I say that to say, if you think through your insecurities or any negative beliefs that you have about yourself, interrogate where that came from. Like, is this something that I believe because this is a value that I hold, or is this something that somebody else told me that I internalized and accepted about myself that I could very well reject and say, yeah, no, I don't believe that. I like my hair, I like my nose, I like my body type, whatever it is. So, you know, I want you to think about ways that you can change the narrative. So as we move into the next portion of this, the art activity, I want you to think about your favorite facial feature. Does anybody want to share their favorite facial feature? I can share mine. Just to start, I used to hate my freckles because, you know, people made fun of me because I had freckles, but I actually, like, I have a bunch of freckles and I really like them. I think they're great. Anyone else want to go?
I'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I get a lot of compliments on my smile and my lips.
Yes.
And I like it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Anybody else want to share? Cool. Well, sorry, did someone else want to go?
I really like, it's not facial, but I love my hair. It took a long time. I used to straighten it. You know, once it like wasn't really curly before, and then all of a sudden I hit puberty and my hair was curly, and then I used to straighten it. My mom took a real iron to straighten it for me, and then one time, and I had swim for gym during like one period of PE class. We had to swim, and I was like, oh my god, what am I gonna do with my hair? It's gonna be horrible. And I hadn't even seen it really. And when I And this boy that I had a huge crush on like stopped me in the hall, and I was like, I know, I couldn't, you know, I don't know how to straighten my hair like and get to class on time. And he was like, no, it's beautiful. And he kept touching it, which I know is kind of inappropriate now that, you know, white dudes like grabbing my hair and telling me how gorgeous it was. But at the time I really needed that at the moment. And I was like, why do I care? Like, why am I straightening? Okay, yeah, it's beautiful. And I just, you know, I've grown up so much. This was a sophomore year in high school, but I still like, I'm like, my hair is beautiful. The boy I love told me back in 10th grade.
Yes, in the 10th grade, right?
It's just terrible to get your affirmation that way, but I needed it then.
No,
And
that's
I was like,
perfect.
why have I been who am I straightening it for?
Right. We got M with the brows. Sephora, lips and eyes. Yes. So the reason I wanted you all to identify this is because in your self-portrait, you're going to draw everything but your favorite facial feature. Because we really want to focus on building up the parts of yourself that need more love. It's easy to love our favorite things, right? Like I love Reese's. It's so easy to love Reese's peanut butter cup. But if I want to acquire a different palate and a different taste and start understanding food differently, I would have to focus on other flavors. And so it's the same thing. We're not going to focus on the stuff we love. We're going to build up the things that we're not as confident about. So what I want you to do is I want you to, oh, and just like a little art tip, when you're using colors and you're shading, pick 3 tones. You're going to want your base tone. So like if you look at my face here, my base tone is probably like this brown here. And then we have our shadow color, which is like a shade or 2 darker. And then we have our hot spot or like light color. That's a shade or 2 lighter. So if you're going, you know, if you're going to do art where you're going to want to shade, pick 3 colors so you can kind of blend them all together. We don't have a ton of time today, so I will kind of whiz through this part. It does not have to look cute. Again, there's no expectation that anyone's art looks cute. So I want you to go ahead and, you know, draw a face, leave some space at the top and leave some space on the sides because we're going to do something with that open space. So do that. You can draw a neck, leave space for hair as well. Noosh, brought up a good point. I didn't say hair, I said facial features, but I want y'all to draw hair on your heads too, or hats or whatever you feel good with going on your head. So go ahead and draw all the facial features on your
But
face.
not me, right? Because I said hair is my favorite, or do you want me to pick a facial feature? Favorite and not draw it?
You can pick a facial feature and not draw it because I want yours to have hair. Okay. And so, you know, you see, like, I literally just drew like a big oval and a neck. Again, this is going to be super simple. So go ahead and take the time to draw. And again, I'm going to kind of whiz through this because more than I want you to draw, I want you to think about the things that we're talking about here today. So I'm just sketching mine out really quickly and it's not going to look like me, I promise. And now while you're drawing that, I want us to think about and be vulnerable a little bit. If you feel comfortable, think about your least favorite facial feature. Does anybody want to share?
Can I share?
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, it's the opposite of yours. It's my hair. Because I had really beautiful curly hair, very long. And like I said before, the after effects of the military, you know, my hair actually falls out from time to time, you know, and that's because like the cancer that they had to remove some parts out of me. So, you know, and it affected my hair. So one day it's beautiful and then sometimes it gets to a point and then it just starts coming out. So I guess that's the most complicated part of trying to, you know, deal with that. So I'm thinking about cutting it again because it's not working for me again. So, but it's my hair.
Well, let's reframe that a little bit. I think your hair having that response because you had cancer is a sign that you were strong and you survived, right? Like that's a reminder, that's evidence that you were strong enough to beat that and survive it. So although
Yeah.
it doesn't look how it used to, I think it's a, you know, it lets you know that you overcame something. And so what I want everyone to think about is what gives a feature value? And who sets that value and whose standard is it? You know, if we say thick hair is preferred over thin hair, where does that come from? Why is there a preference? Why does it matter if your hair is straight or curly or gray or blonde or brown? Um, you know, those are values we assign to things that don't necessarily in themselves carry a value. And so we can always reframe the value we see in those things. So I see in the chat some folks are sharing about, you know, um, cheeks being chubby and noses being crooked. I broke my nose in high school. I have a little lump in my nose too. But again, all of those things I think are our perception of those things are tied to things that are outside of the actual feature. I think we associate things that aren't necessarily true. You know, there's no value in a certain size of your cheek, right? Like you know, I don't see that one has to be preferred over the other. I see lots of beautiful smiles with full cheeks, and it lights up the room, you know, to see a big full smile. And so I encourage you all to reframe the way that you think about those features. And the way that I help folks do that, and again, as we're talking, you know, continue to draw your faces and stuff, is that we understand our features. The way I look at it are gifts from our ancestors. And Dr. V talked about this yesterday, that when you top up your face and you reconstruct it, you're taking away your heritage in a sense. And so, you know, I would never say to my great grandmother, your nose is not good enough for my face. I'm sorry. You know, I when I think about my features being a gift from her or from them, I honor them. And I think about them with reverence. I go, wow, like my features are evidence that these people lived and like fought through things and survived things, and I'm the evidence of that, you know. And these features are their lineage, you know. And so that's just a way that I kind of reframe it that works for me. If I start getting down about things, I would certainly not tell my grandmother I don't appreciate, you know, the lips that I got from her or that sort of thing. So I want, for those who want to share, I want you to think about this statement. I am thankful for my, whatever the facial feature is that you said was your least favorite, because. So I would say my least favorite facial feature are my eyebrows. They're very thin. I have to like fill them in with powder. But I am thankful for my eyebrows because they help me show emotion when I talk to people, right? And they allow me to be expressive. So if somebody else wants to share as they're creating their art, I would like to open it up for folks to share as well. And you can just jump in there.
I'm grateful for my eyes.
Because?
Oh, because in the light they shine. I like the way they shine in the light. They're like this like a bright crystal brown. And sometimes I'll, like right now when the sun is going down and it hits my eyes, I sometimes put the mirror right in front of me just so I can see the color.
Nice. Anybody else want to share?
Well, I shared in the chat that I always hated my nose because it's crooked, and I broke it a lot of times, but I'm also Middle Eastern, so we're not known to have these small little button noses. And people always said, oh, you just get a nose job, your nose you'd be so beautiful if you did. And I've always struggled because I'm like, but then I won't look Middle Eastern anymore. Like I just won't, you know. I'll look maybe like Latina or something, but cutting my nose will literally cut my Middle Easternness out. So I'm going to say I love my nose because from my nose is how you can tell that I'm actually from the eastern part of the world.
I love that. Thank you.
Here's my picture so far. which whenever I draw, I mean, I'm a terrible drawer, but I usually do make the noses like perfect, like a little button nose. So I made it a little more accurate.
Love that. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
This is mine so far, by the way. We don't have to be super far in our activity. And so I'm going to try to just get us, you know, through the rest of the process so that I can honor the stop time that we communicated. But go ahead and as we talk, keep working on this, okay? And so the next thing that I want to talk about is, you know, we just talked about our external selves, and now I want us to kind of flip inward and think about our internal selves. And so I want you to think about your character, and Noosh like set this up beautifully at the beginning where we talked about what our biggest fan would say about us. And I don't think anybody shared anything physical. Oh, my biggest fan would say I've got the best hair, or my lips are so great, or, you know, my thighs. Nobody said that. Everybody said you know, I'm ambitious, I'm courageous, you know, I'm consistent, things about their character, because that's what we're really known for. We get caught up on our physical stuff, but like, you know, nobody at a eulogy says, oh, we're going to really miss the way that, you know, their ankles contoured into their calves. No one says that, I promise. They talk about your character. And so I want you to make a list of 3 things that make you special that don't have to do with appearance. And we're going to have to like get some more nose love going on here. Y'all got to love these noses. I'll do like a nose love activity at some point. But I want you to think about 3 things that make you special that have nothing to do with your appearance. And what I want you to do is I want you to write them around your face using I am statements. So as an example, I could put, I am loving, because that's what I shared at the beginning of the session as what somebody would say about me. I could say, I am creative.
Do we just write the word, or we write I am loving, I am creative? Do we write the whole 3 sentences
Yeah.
anywhere on the paper, but not up top, right?
Right. Save the top space, but anywhere on the sides, I want you to write it as an I am statement. So yeah, use all 3 words. I am whatever. And then if you all want to unmute as you're writing it and share, I would love to hear what you are. Go ahead.
We can share now.
Yeah, go ahead. Anytime you want to jump in and share your I am statements, go ahead.
Okay. I am understanding. I am caring. I am fearless.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Anybody else want to share some? I am shy. I am caring. I am a Leo. All right. Leos are some of my favorite people, by the way. Let's see. So now I want you all to think about a trait. Ooh, I am inspiring. I am loving. I am powerful. Yes. I like these. Thank you. I am gentle. I love that one. I am aware. Yes. I am funny. I love that. Thank you. I put I am creative, I am loving, and I am brave. That's one that I've been working on. You know, and so you saw some of my art where it's talking about your voices, your freedom, and that sort of thing. I've had to really get used to being brave and sharing my story. And so that was a really big one. Now I want everybody to think about a trait that they wish they had that they want to work on. And I want you to write that as an I am statement, because we're going to manifest the thing that we want to become. Okay. So I might say, I am patient, because I'm working on being patient, because my daughter is currently right here with her hand raised. And I'm like, oh, let me be patient with her and, you know, hear her and what she has to say, that sort of thing. So that is my I am statement for the trait that I want to work on. Does anybody else want to share? Does anybody want to be, ooh, I am a risk taker. I like that. I am, so Zipporah, I want you to write, I am confident on your page, okay? I am creative. I am respectful. I am dependable. I am confident. I am relaxed. I love it. I love it. I am punctual. Okay, we're gonna manifest that, Professor Lyrical. And so the last thing I want you to do at the very top is write, I am a work of art. Maybe find your better than I did. Really kind of crunch over to the side. So that's what we want to have at the very top. So then you all can finish, coloring in your faces and drawing your facial features later on.
I think you're breaking up, at least for me, for a second, all of a sudden.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it says my speaker is not working. Please check your connection.
You're good now, totally.
Okay, cool. But yeah, you all can finish up the designing and drawing your face and shading and whatever details you want to add. But I really just wanted to take you through that process. Recording any criticisms you have about your physical appearance, honoring those traits and features that we typically criticize ourselves for. And then really looking inward and really seeing yourself as the whole amazing person that you are. So yeah, please hold up what you worked on if you want to share.
I think you're muted.
That looks great.
I can't hear him because he has his headphones, I think.
Hear me now?
Yeah. Can you show it?
Oh, that's weird. Yeah. So yeah, I excluded the eyes because that's my favorite trait. And then I just kind of, maybe I'll redo it with some color for tomorrow or something. Are we showcasing these tomorrow too? Or?
We can, yeah, totally. I love that.
I also don't know.
You have a great nose out here.
Thank you. So do you.
Yes. Here's
Does
mine.
anyone else want to share?
I wrote, I am relaxed because I never am. So hopefully I'll manifest that and chill out more. I don't really like to be told to relax, but I like it on my own time if I can. Anyone else want to share?
And one cool thing you can do with these is you can hang this up on your mirror or in your bedroom somewhere where you'll see it regularly, so you can see those affirmations and repeat them, so that you can manifest those things.
I didn't finish my drawing because I feel like I'm a work in progress.
I feel that. I understand that.
Yeah, I'm gonna color mine. I just drew it, but I'm gonna go and color it and stuff. So definitely, I think take time and do this and bring it tomorrow. We can totally start with that tomorrow. So speaking of tomorrow, I'm gonna share my screen really quick. Thank you again, Brandy, for doing this incredible.
I had a quick question for Brandy.
Yeah.
And maybe I missed it, but you said to envision that color that you thought of when you found that peaceful place. Are we to incorporate that into the portrait, or was that just you trying to get us to calm down?
Well, yeah, it was both, but the background color should be your happy place color.
Okay, got it.
Your calm place color. So if yours was, I don't remember which one you said was your
green.
Green, yeah. So then you'll want if you color yours, you'll want your background to be green.
Got it.
And so then that, again, if you hang it on your mirror or hang it on your wall somewhere, you'll see yourself in that calm place being all of the things that you imagine that you want to be.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So can everyone see my screen now? Yeah. Okay, so just because, I'll stick around if anybody wants to chat and stay later, work on your stuff. But tomorrow, this is what's happening. We have an open mic and we have featured guests tomorrow. So we can also, I know, if anybody really didn't get to go through and wants to actually workshop pieces, you're welcome to. But I did on the pieces today, I did put my input on there, and I think some other people started writing their input on the pieces as well that were there. But if there's a new thing that you want to workshop, we'll see if we can do it. But really, we're gonna have a day of, celebrating. So I'd love to see, open it up, see if anybody wants to share their work of art pieces, if they got to work on them. But also if you want to perform, if you want to share an artwork, share photography, do a dance, whatever you want to do that relates to kind of either your story, a counter story, artivism, anything like that, any form of artistic expression, please email me or put it in the chat box right now that you want to definitely be on there so that I can make sure that you're prioritized, because I don't know who comes, but I want you to all spread the word and have everybody come. That tell them all to attend, because we will have a DJ. I'll perform. I know in these 2 days I haven't shared any poetry. I really wanted to center the participants because that's what the point of these workshops has been. I will perform tomorrow for sure. And I'll be standing up and it'll be fun. So I'll do that. Philosophy, who's part of Never Speak on the lower left, will also perform. We're all part of a collective called Never Speak LB. So philosophy is part of that. Ravina in the center is also part of that. Shy But Fly in the lower right with the purple hair is also part of that. She's a beautiful singer as well. Marissa on the upper right is actually going to open the space and close the space with some energy healing. So that's going to be really beautiful to begin our space with some cool, mindful, holistic, alternative form of wellness and just feeling like we can come back to spaceline, especially if we hear anything triggering or we release anything triggering. She's phenomenal. She runs her own Black wellness kind of initiative, and she's been really great. And then in the bottom middle with the headphones is DJ Solo. He's going to just mix and match for us. He's always DJs for the Pan-African Film Festival out here in LA. And I love collaborating with him. So it's going to be a really fun event full of features and an awesome open mic that I would love for you all to perform in. Yes, Alexander has shared that he'll perform. Who else? And I think if you all even tighten up any of the poems you worked on in the workshop, or even look at any of the, the ones that you just did today that you shared and you got some feedback from, perform that. You don't have to have it memorized. You can read it off. I'm not one of those, you have to memorize your poem people. So, definitely come through with that. Come with like one poem and maybe two, another backup too. We'll see what we have time for, but that would be awesome. And same time. So Southern California time, 5 to 6:30. Colorado time, it would be 6 to 7:30. And let me also remind you of some next steps. Carve out an hour, same time every day to read and write. Don't just wait for when you're inspired to write, because you're not doing your crafts the service. Just carve out 1 hour. That's all you need to do. And if an hour is too much, you really can't do that, then just commit to reading a page and writing a page, whatever that is, whether it's purge writing, whether it's trying to, go back to a page in your poetry and perfect it, and reading one page out of a poetry book. If you need recommendations, I'm happy to give them to you. You can Google things that just show up, so you don't have to buy a book. Work on anything created, come up with killer titles and opening lines, try and use descriptive language whenever you can. Remember that poems don't need a rhyme, but they do need rhythm. So stay on beat if you're gonna rhyme. And even if you're not gonna rhyme, you can kind of make sure that there's some sort of a flow that we hear and that that's gonna be good for our ears. Ask people to review. You don't have to be a poet to review a poem and be like, that spoke to me. I like that. Anyone could read Nikki Giovanni's poems that I shared yesterday. Anyone could read Maya Angelou and be like, that's beautiful. That's moving. I like that. And then show up to open mics in the future. Definitely show up tomorrow, tell your friends, but show up to as many of those as you can. And eventually you'll feel really comfortable being someone who's a regular to perform at those open mics. And follow some poets and poetry groups. So you can follow me. I'll put my here, but also my poetry crew is there. If anybody has like their own kind of poetry groups that they like, go ahead and add those in. So, and then if you want to get in touch, I put our emails in the chat box and our websites, but feel free to take a snapshot there of the screen as well. And thank you so much, Rainey, for being our guest. I'm excited to work on my art piece, and I hope you'll come tomorrow to showcase some of your incredible work.
Thank you. And I'll stick around a little bit after too, in case anybody has any follow-up questions for me.
Yeah, anybody, anybody have anything to share, any takeaways, anything you want to speak on or ask about, we're here. So I'm just being mindful of your time since we said this would end at a certain time.
I'm gonna take off, but just thank you for the time, and